Hello, Rebel, and welcome back to my life. I did get a haircut, thanks for noticing, and I'm out with Megan and Melody. Say hi, Megan and Melody.
Hi, Megan and Melody.
Yes! We're out for a little hike, which is something we should probably do more often considering how beautiful it is where we live, in a place called Airport Park, which is definitely a park, but which has a disturbing lack of airports.
This, for example, is clearly not an airport. I don't see any airports in that direction either.
I'm beginning to think this place might have been misnamed. However, there is this really nice little mushroom house. Maybe this place should have been called Mushroom House Park instead. Any mushroom tip jokes will get you banned from my comments. This seems like something that was clearly built by a fairy or other magical creature, but there's a spigot on it, which makes me think it was adapted by humans, and if you've ever read a story about fairies or other magical creatures, you know that that's a really bad idea. Someone definitely got cursed. Hey, looks like we finally found the airport. Boy, who would build an airport so close to a forest that is clearly haunted by fairies or other magical creatures? You know, now that I'm thinking about it, that mushroom house was probably also built by fairies or other magical creatures. This definitely seems like the sort of place where you would find creatures like that. Now, the reason that I keep bringing up fairies and other beings of the Fae is not just because I kind of like them, although I do. It's because I'm actually releasing a new Underrealm book very soon. Well, sort of a new Underrealm book. It's the Nightblade Epic Volume 2, which is a compilation of the next 3 books in the Nightblade Epic, books 4, 5, and 6. And I'm pretty excited about it because it comes with all sorts of really awesome little extras in the back, including a whole essay on elves and what they are and how they work, and I really think people are going to like it. Anyway, that's coming out on Friday, so keep an eye out for that video where I will tell you that it is available for pre-order and that you can go get it for half off. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen a formation of trees that is so clearly the entrance to some great hall of the fairies. So like I mentioned before, Oregon is a really beautiful place that I don't think we take enough advantage of. And walking around in woods like this, it's really easy to see where people came up with the ideas for a lot of the myths and folklore that populate human culture. Like, it's really easy to see these little side trails and all the little nooks and crannies under the trees and buried in the banks of rivers, and imagine that they were made and created and crafted by things not quite human, but not animals either. And especially throughout human history, when places like this were a little bit more common and slightly less likely to have airports built next to them, and there were always stories of people wandering off into the woods never to return. You can understand why we felt the need to create stories about these magical creatures that sort of explained something that we felt like we weren't really in control of. And to me, that's one thing that's always been really fascinating about fantasy and folklore and mythology, is that need to understand and make some sense out of what's probably just natural phenomenon, but over which we can't seem to exert any influence or control, which is something that humans really like to have. And while of course it's certainly frightening enough to believe that there are these other beings and creatures out there whose motives and intentions we really can't understand, maybe that's a better and safer feeling perspective than the fact that it's all random and we can't control anything. And while I much prefer to go along with the viewpoint that I can eventually understand things and control things and make myself safer by doing that, I'm also not living in a time and place where going for a simple walk in the woods is likely to get me eaten by wolves, or at least I hope I'm not. That feeling when you realize midway through your shot that it and the previous shot were horribly out of focus and you can't really remember what you said and just reshoot the shots. Anyway, Rebel, I hope you've enjoyed this little walk through the woods with me. Keep an eye out for Friday's video. The Nightblade Epic Volume 2 will be on sale for 50% off for the first 2 days that it's out. So if that's something you're interested in, I certainly don't want you to miss out on the opportunity. I will see you on Friday with a very, very special video. Bye! I think I might be lost in the woods. If somebody finds this camera afterwards, tell my wife and kids that I love them.